Transition now to Texas and head coach Steve Sarkisian. The Longhorns at 11-1 overall and 7-1 in the SEC will be the number one seed in Atlanta and the home team. Coach, thanks for being with us this evening. Congratulations on making it to Atlanta. Before we begin to take questions, would you mind commenting on the season and advancing and preparing for the SEC championship game?
Sure. First of all, this is a heck of an honor to earn an opportunity to go to Atlanta and compete for an SEC championship. It was something that clearly one of our team goals before the season began, and we knew it would be extremely challenging. Anytime you can make it to an SEC championship game, that means you kind of were able to survive to some degree the treachery that this conference has, and then we see it year in and year out. We saw it again this year, just how difficult it is to navigate this schedule, especially going on the road into some of these environments. And I'm sure there's a lot of teams, looking back on this season right now with, a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, because it's difficult when you get on the road. And so the fact that our guys were able to manage that throughout the season, we knew when we had the matchup with Georgia early in the year and we didn't play great football and they beat us pretty handily that night, that we were really in our margin for error was very small, and that we'd have to, win every game and hope that would be enough to control our destiny to get ourselves in this position. And our guys were able to do that. So credit to our coaches, credit to our players for getting that done. But, it's a heck of a challenge. What Kirby's done at Georgia over 9 years now has been pretty incredible. They become the standard of college football. Couple national championships, a couple SEC titles. What they've just done on a consistency basis in recruiting, their style of play. So ton of respect for what they've done at Georgia, and obviously this would be a heck of a challenge for us going to Atlanta, competing against them.
We'll begin with Kurt Bowles of the Houston Chronicle.
Steve, do you feel like your team is playing its best football now? And how hard is it to sustain that over what may be 5 more games?
Well, I think that the key for us is to really get recentered, refocused on one game. And that's what we've been doing here probably over the last, month or so, is not getting caught up in what's down the road, but what do we need to do this week to play our best football? And whether that's physical, whether that's mental, whether that's emotional, I'm trying to analyze every aspect of it and then trying to get them in the best frame of mind and condition to do that. And so I'd like to think that we have better football ahead of us, quite frankly, and that we've got room to grow in areas where we can improve. And we're always trying to point out areas where we can improve and then show them how we're going to improve upon them. But I have been proud of the way we've been playing. And I think we've been playing well as a team. But again, you can point to last night's game. We were not perfect. We had 2 turnovers in the red area. We had a punt blocked. We missed a field goal. So there were things in that game that didn't go exactly the way we would have liked. But again, that just offers us up things that we need to improve upon.
And one follow-up, Steve. I don't think you really changed your identity offensively, but the running game has just really come together in a big way these last 2 games. Has it just been a bigger point of emphasis, or offensive line blocking better, or what is it, you think?
Well, I think about a month ago, what we do have a variety of run schemes, and but the one scheme that if we don't get that right, the rest of them never work quite as good. And that's when we're running our outside zone stuff. And, we got to it a couple different ways here over the past couple weeks, manning it and zoning it and doing different things. But when that gets going the right way, then the other things kind of come off of that. And so, we made an emphasis about a month ago that we had to improve upon it. Our rhythm was off. Our timing was off. We were getting penalties. The running backs' tracks weren't married with where the offensive line was, so on and so forth. And so I think the commitment to getting that cleaned up gave me more confidence to call more stuff running the football, but also allowed for the variety in the running game really to come to life as well.
Thanks, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we'll go to Travis Gailey of Orange Bloods.
Hey, Coach, thank you for your time. I was wondering if A, you could give us a quick update on Kelvin Banks, and then B, after having gotten a chance to watch the film, if you could give me your thoughts about Trevor Gooseby and how he played.
Yeah, I don't have an update on Kelvin yet. As far as Trevor, I was really proud of him. He had his first time playing in real football in a obviously a very difficult environment. Played over 70 snaps in that game. I think 71 snaps, and really had one procedural penalty and no other penalties beyond that. I thought he showed great poise and composure. The moment didn't seem too big for him. I thought he played a physical brand of football, and I think it's definitely something that he can build upon for his future.
Thank you, Coach.
Next will be Anthony Dasher of UJSports.com.
Hey, Coach. What are typically the biggest challenges when you're playing a team for the second time in the year, and are there ever any advantages to doing so?
Well, I think the one thing that I've tried to lean into here today is we're just kind of in the preliminary stages of it all, is kind of take myself back to the NFL, and you get in your division there and you play teams, multiple times a year, and then over time, a couple of years go by, you start playing them, 4 times in 2 years. If it's a playoffs, 5 times in 2 years, and so you just try to try to do the things that you do well. B, you try to take in the information that maybe you can gather from seeing them in person as opposed to what it looks like on tape. And then making sure that you have an idea of some of your own tendencies that you're able to break some of those things. But at the end of the day, our job is to put our players in the best position to be successful. And whether that's physically, mentally, schematically, whatever that looks like. And so that's what we always kind of fall back to. But again, I do think there are some things you can take from the first matchup, good and bad. And clearly there was enough things that we need to fix from the first time we played them. You don't get shut out in the first half. You don't have 4 turnovers in the game. You're not trailing 23-0 without having plenty of things to get better from the first time we played them.
I appreciate it, man.
Next will be Bobby Burton of On Texas Football.
Yes, Steve, thank you for appearing here. I had a question for you about the Texas secondary. They had another interception on Saturday night. A year ago, this secondary just probably didn't meet your expectations or desires. What has been the catalyst behind that transformation, whether it's new coaches, players, et cetera?
Well, I think it's probably a combination of things. I think one, when we assessed the whole thing, we said, okay, we need to make a shift. We need to make an adjustment. What's our style of play? What do we want to do? I think the first layer of it was getting Jahdae Barron to come back to school for his senior year. That was probably the thing that happened first. And, when he decided to come back, part of that him coming back was to go play corner, not exclusively, but primarily play corner. And then that would allow us to play Jalen Gilbo at nickel, 2 of our better players back there. The next part of it, I think, was the hiring of Johnny Nansen to offer some different perspective on kind of style of play, coverages, different things of that nature. I think the third layer to that, what came next, was the addition of Andrew Makuba, transferring from Clemson, a veteran safety with a wealth of experience. And then the fourth piece to it all, I think, is the development of that group. And that group now is a really veteran group. When you look at Michael Taft, Andrew Makuba, Jahdae Barron, Jalen Gilbo, Manny Muhammad, those guys have played a lot of football. And then you sprinkle in on some of the new faces, what Derek Williams has been able to do. Gavin Holmes is starting to play a little bit more, and Kobe Black, those guys. But that core group of guys is a veteran group of guys. And I think the thing that they're doing so well is they're playing within the scheme, they're doing their job, and they're trusting one another. And that trust is coming from great communication. So I think there's a lot of layers to it. And then lastly, through all of that, they've built up a great deal of confidence, and I think that's why turnovers occur, is because guys are playing with confidence. They're trusting their keys. They're making their breaks on the ball, and then they're making plays on the ball when they get there.
Do you think they're more confident today than they were when they played Georgia last time?
I don't know that.
Thanks. Thank you, Steve.
Next will be Brian Davis of A to Z Sports.
Hey, Steve. Appreciate you doing this. We've talked a lot in the last few weeks about Alfred, but I just wanted to ask you, what'd you think of Vernon last night? And just you had several guys that we haven't talked about a lot. Make big plays. Both last night and Kentucky. Just what do you think of how so many different players are getting involved defensively?
Yeah, I think Vernon had a tremendous game last night. A couple sacks, fumble recovery. He was right there in the mix on that goal line stop right there. He's right at the point of attack. And I'm really proud of Vernon because, again, he's a guy that has grown with us over 4 years, very similar to Alfred, finding that level of consistency, trying to get them to be 3-down players and not, just pass rushers, but defending the run. And he's really worked at that. But yet he still is a very effective pass rusher for us with his length and his athleticism for his size. And he's playing with a lot of confidence, and he's playing from a leadership perspective and not a follower's perspective. And I think that has bode well for him, and he's made some real impact plays for us. So I'm proud of him for that. I think the variety of guys making plays and the variety of guys playing on defense right now is exciting. On that stop right there on that goal line stand. We talked about Vernon, but Bill Norton does a heck of a job knocking the guard back to create a new line of scrimmage. Ethan Burke comes off the backside to make the play. A subtlety on that play is Michael Taff in position to, if the quarterback pulled it, he'd be in position to play the quarterback. It was just all the guys doing their job of whatever their job was supposed to be on that play. And Jermaine Lole last week on a 4th down stop. So a lot of some of the new faces are really starting to make plays now and have grown into their role on our team to go along with some of the familiar faces of guys that have been making plays for us all year.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Next will be Chip Towers of the AJC.
Hang on, just trying to unmute with my finger. Sorry about that. Just real quick, obviously, Coach, you played late on Saturday night out there. Georgia played on Friday. That's an extra day. Of course, they went 8 overtimes. Any advantage in that? Just that having maybe an extra day to rest, and obviously you got to travel a little piece coming here. Just is that negligible, or is that a real deal you got to deal with?
I don't know. I don't put too much thought into that. I just focus on what we need to do to prepare. It's a normal work week for us. I'm sure they need the extra day. That was a long game. I stayed up and watched it, so that was a marathon. I was exhausted watching it myself. So, but in the end, it's a normal work week for us. So I'm not put too much thought into an extra day or not.
Do you have any experience, anything with Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta?
Yeah, I was coached for the Falcons for 2 years, so I got a pretty good feel for getting my way around that place.
I guess so. Yeah. Okay. You know where the visitors' locker room is?
No, I've only ever been in the home locker room.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next will be Chip Brown of Orange 24/7.
Hey, Steve. Knowing that Kelvin Banks is likely moving on after this season, how much more excited are you about the performance that Trevor Gooseby gave you against some really talented edge guys? And did anything stand out from Gooseby's recruitment?
Again, any experience we get is helpful. I think back to last year, Cam Williams getting a start. I believe it was against BYU, if I'm not mistaken, last season, maybe Kansas State, one of those two. that I think helped him in his future and what he's capable of, and gave us confidence in him. Not a perfect game for Cam at that time, but again, it gave us a little bit of peek into the future of what he would look like. And I think last night probably did the same for us with Gooseby and for him as well. You know, he's been working really hard. A lot of these guys have been working really hard and working their tail off. And you love to see when a guy gets his opportunity to play significant time and minutes, that they perform and that they put their best foot forward. And I thought Trevor did that last night. And so I think the future is bright for him. I think the one thing that stood out for me in Trevor's recruitment, you know, and I think for a lot of players on our team that are performing at a high level right now, Trevor wasn't this 5-star recruit that was, you know, allegedly the top tackle in the country, rated by everybody. I think he might have been a 3-star guy that, you could see potential. And once you got around him and you saw the competitive spirit that he had, the work ethic that he had, the mental and physical toughness that he had, although he was maybe a little, I don't want to call it undersized because he's a big human, but you know, needed some filling out to do. But you could see the athleticism and the nastiness in which he played the game. And that's a credit to Coach Flood identifying that. And then it's a credit to Coach Becton and Trevor and their commitment to the weight room as he's continued to develop physically as well as a player. And so, but the thing I remember about his recruitment, it was exactly that. It wasn't this huge high profile recruit. It was a guy that we tried to identify that we felt could fit our scheme. And I think he and his family recognized that and has come here and been just that, a guy that has worked his tail off, that he has never lost that competitive edge that he had in recruiting. And it served him well. You know, he performed well for us last night.
Thank you.
Next will be Enrar Richardson of Orange Bloods.
Hey, Coach. 2 questions. Coach, you've been in this game long enough to know that sometimes when a team loses a big game, there's a domino effect. Sometimes they don't rebound from it. How are you guys able to just compartmentalize that Georgia loss and not let one loss beat you twice this season?
Just that, you know, we talk that exact way, and that we're not going to allow that to happen, and that we are going to get refocused, and our sole focus is on the next opponent, and our sole focus is on what do we need to do to improve. And so I really just leave it at that. You know, I don't speak negatively. I just say, hey, this isn't going to happen. This is what's going to happen, and here's how we're going to go about our business. The good thing is this year we were able to lean on the experience from last year, you know, because a very similar thing happened last year, you know, losing to OU, especially in the fashion that game went, and our ability to rebound last year and then go run the table in the conference to get back in the championship game, I think gave a lot of the veteran players confidence that we could do it again and to follow the formula for success to make that happen.
And along those same lines, Coach, you know, you've had your quarterback that's been injured, your running back's been injured, your left tackle has been injured, Isaiah Bond, DeAndre Moore. But yet you guys haven't been able to you haven't skipped a beat either. Again, talk about maybe that resilience that you guys have had some injuries, but nonetheless, you guys haven't skipped a beat.
Yeah, I just think, you know, one thing around here, you know, we don't whine, we don't complain, and we don't make excuses. And in whatever the roster looks like for that week, we've got plenty enough good players on this roster that we can devise a plan to put those guys in position to have some success and to compete. You know, the one thing is about our roster, it's a very competitive roster. And all the guys, I know some of them aren't frontline players that don't get to play all the time, but all of them are working really hard and they're improving at their craft. And so we've gained a lot of trust on this team as the season's gone on. You know, a lot of the times, you know, it's what does training camp look like and can you trust players or not? But we really try to keep trying to find ways to trust them as the season goes on. And guys like a Trevor Gooseby are a prime example of that. When their number gets called, you know, you've got a lot of confidence in them that they can go in there and perform.
Coach, you got time for one more. It will be from Joe Cook of Inside Texas.
Coach, you talked about the outside zone and how much y'all dedicated y'all improving in that area. During the course of the game last night, y'all had Juan and Gunner out there for a lot of those late fourth quarter snaps. Is having that personnel package in one of the keys to the improvement?
I mean, it's part of it. Obviously we probably major in 12 personnel and 11 personnel, and we've evolved in the our 21 personnel packages, but we're always just trying to look for angles and fronts and ability to get people blocked. The one thing that personnel does for you, especially late in the game, it allows you to protect your edges a little bit better. You just don't like having free runners at the running back when you're really trying to protect the ball late in the ball game. So that's what that personnel does for us. But again, we'll run an outside zone out of all those different personnel groupings. And so it's not so much the personnel that allows that run scheme to go. But what's helpful for that personnel is there are specifics of why we get into it at certain times. And in that in particular moment, which you're referring to late in the game, was to make sure that our edges were really well protected.
And then this one's super quick. Have you done the play two teams in the same season and while as a college coach?
I don't think so. I
Thank you.
don't believe so. I'm racking my brain here real quick, but I don't believe so.
Coach, thank you for your time this evening, and we look forward to having you in Atlanta on Friday.
All righty, y'all. Thank you.
That will wrap us up. We'll send out transcripts and audio playback links shortly in the evening, as well as an announcement regarding our student athlete teleconference and who those players will be on Monday. Thanks for being with us, and we look forward to a productive week. Reach out if you need us.